Hello and welcome to this exploring session. Today we are looking at James IV by Robert Greene, written probably somewhere in the region of 1590. It's the first, I think, Robert Greene that we've done for these exploring sessions. It's actually one that was voted for us to do by our patrons who pay for this Zoom license and keep the podcast online and generally keep the flow of requests for plays that we do in the future going. James IV is putatively a history play, and one of the questions we're asking this week is, what maketh a history play? And I think we're going to come up with many different answers. I think it's important to note that there is a character coming up called Nano, who is down as a dwarf, and there is going to be a question of representation and ableism that may be part of the narrative of this play, which we will discuss precisely what to do with that or not in a putative future production. We've got rather a lot of text to do today, so we're going to rattle through our fabulous readers and then crack on with the text itself and see how it goes. So in the room with me today, reading the part of Oberon and Ida is
Liz Hill, and I'm in North Devon.
And reading the part of Slipper and a Servant is
hello, I'm Helen Good, and I'm a historian.
And reading the part of Bohan and Eustace is
Hello, I'm Pamela Flanagan. I'm an Irish actor based in London.
And reading the part of Dorothea and Nano for this reading is
Hi, I'm Tamara. I am a German/British actor.
It's very much a an international play in many ways. So it's good that we have international readers all around as well. Coming from the plains of the King of England is.
Hi, I'm Alan Scott. I'm based in Suffolk. I'm not a professional actor.
And reading the part of Ateukin is.
Hello, I'm William Sutton and I'm based in Amsterdam.
And reading the part of the Countess of Arran and Sir Bartram is.
Hi, I'm Valentina and I'm an Italian actor in London.
And reading the parts of Andrew and the King of Scots is.
Hi, I'm Daniel. I'm based in Montpellier, France, and I'm an actor.
And this is the team. I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I will be reading the stage directions and generally trying to keep everything ticking along. Some of the stage directions in this, the version that the cast have got, are occasionally a little hidden at the end of speeches. Have a little look for any square brackets that open a line, and if it looks like a stage direction, hopefully I'll get in before you do. The play opens, and here's an interesting question. How do you start a play? Well, this play opens with an induction. It opens with a sort of prologue thing, with music playing within. Enter Oberon, king of the fairies and antics, who dance about a tomb placed conveniently on the stage, out of which suddenly starts up, as they dance, Bohan, a Scot, attired like a Ridstal man, from whom the antics fly, but Oberon remains.
I say, what's now?
Thy friend, Bohan.
What I or reck I that? Why, good man, I reck no friend, nor I reck no foe. All's een to me. Get thee ganging, and trouble not me whyet, or I's gar thee reckon me nae of that friend. By the Mary Mass, shall I?
Why, angry Scot, I visit thee for love. Then what moves thee to wrath?
The deil a whit reck I thy love. For I know too well that true love took her flighty 20 winter sense to heaven. Whither thy I can, weel I wot. I'll say never find love, and thou lovest me. Leave me to myself. But what were those puppets that hopped and skipped about me yere a while?
My subjects.
Thy subjects? Why, art thou a king?
I am.
The devil thou art. Why, Thou lookest not so big as the king of clubs, nor so sharp as the king of spades, nor so fine as the king of diamonds. Be the mass, I take thee to be the king of false hearts. Therefore, I rid thee away, or I so curry your kingdom that yous be glad to run to save your life.
Why, stoical Scot, do what thou darest to me. Here is my breast, strike.
Thou wilt not treap me. This Wynyard has guard many better men to lope than thou.
And he tries to draw his sword.
But how now? God says, what? Wilt not out? Why, thou witch, thou devil, God's fudge my Wynyard.
Why, poor man. But wouldn't were out, how then?
This, then, thou wert best be gone first, for I'll so lop thy limbs that thou'st go with half a knave's carcass to the devil.
Draw it out. Now strike, fool. Canst thou not?
Bread I guy, what devil is in me? Why, tell me, thou skipjack, what art thou?
Nay, first tell me what thou wast from thy birth, what thou hast passed hitherto, why thou dwellest in a tomb and leavest the world, and then I will release thee of these bonds. Before, not.
And not before. Then needs must needs all. I was born a gentleman of the best blood in all Scotland, except the king. When time brought me to age and death took my parents, I became a courtier, where, though I list not praise myself, I engrave the memory of Bohan on the skin coat of some of them, and revelled with the proudest.
But why, living in such reputation, didst thou leave to be a courtier?
Because my pride was vanity, my expense lost, my reward fair words and large promises, and my hopes split. For that, after many years' service, one outran me. And what the devil should I then do there? No, flattering knaves that can cog and prate fastest, speed best in the court.
To what life didst thou then betake thee?
I then changed the court for the country, and the wars for a wife. But I found the craft of swains more vile than the knavery of courtiers, the charge of children more heavy than servants, and wives' tongues worse than the wars itself. And therefore I gave o'er that, and went to the city to dwell. And there I kept a great house with small cheer, but all was ne'er the near.
And why?
Because in seeking friends, I found table guests to eat me and my meat, my wife's gossips to bewray the secrets of my heart, kindred to betray the effect of my life, which when I noted, the court ill, the country worse, and the city worst of all, in good time my wife died. Nay, would she had died 20 winters sooner, by the mass, leaving my 2 sons to the world, and shutting myself into this tomb where, if I die, I am sure I am safe from wild beasts, but whilst I live, cannot be free from ill company. Besides, now I am sure, if all my friends fail me, I shall have a grave of mine own providing. That is all. Now, what art thou?
Oberon, king of fairies, that loves thee because thou hatest the world. And to gratulate thee, I brought these antics to show thee some sport in dancing, which thou hast loved well.
Thinkest thou those puppets can please me? Why, I have 2 sons, that with one Scottish jig shall break the necks of thy antics.
That I would fain see.
Why, thou shalt. Oh, boys!
Enter Slipper and Nano.
Hold your clacks, lads. Prattle not for thy life, but gather up your legs and dance me forthwith a jig worth the sight.
Why, I must talk if I die for it. Wherefore was my tongue made?
Prattle, and thou darest one word more, and I's dab this Wynyard in thy whim.
Be quiet, Bohan. I'll strike him dumb, and his brother too. Their talk shall not hinder our jig. Fall to it, dance, I say, man.
Dance, Hummer, dance. I read thee.
And the two dance a jig devised for the nonce.
Now get you to the wild world with more than my feather gave me. That's learning enough both kinds, knavery and honesty. And that I gave you, spend at pleasure.
Nay, for their sport I will give them this gift. To the dwarf I give a quick wit, pretty of body, and a warrant his preferment to a prince's service, where by his wisdom he shall gain more love than common. And to loggerhead your son, I give a wandering life, and promise he shall never lack, and avow that, if in all distresses he call upon me, to help him. Now let them go.
And exit Slipper and Nano with curtsies.
Now, king, if thou be a king, I will show thee why I hate the world by demonstration. In the year 1520 was in Scotland a king, o'erruled with parasites, misled by lust, and many circumstances too long to prattle on now, much like our court of Scotland this day. That story have I set down. Gang with me to the gallery, and I'll show thee the same in action by good fellows of our countrymen. And then, when thou seest that, judge if any wise men would not leave the world, if he could.
That will I see. Lead, and I'll follow thee.
And they exit. So, pause there. It's an interesting framing device. I quite like it. I'm not an expert, but I think the dialogue for Bohan is actually quite well written. It's not like some of the comedy rustics we've had. You know, this does seem like there's some effort has gone into accurate accent dialogue work here. I like the fact there's a Jedi mind trick midway through the opening exchange. I mean, that's pure Yoda at that point. Go on, move if you like. And this sort of this misanthrope that's, you know, just going to lie in a tomb, wait till he dies, sort of attracting fairies. And we've got music, we've got dance, we've got Slipper and Nano. Thoughts about how this is to introduce a history narrative. First impressions from the room. Wave at me, someone. William.
I like it. I mean, it's the first time it feels like characters are actually introducing the thing. Yeah, I really like it as a framing device. You've got these two characters, one, and then the two weird boys come in as well and get their special powers, and this misanthrope that's telling the story. I mean, wow. Great framing device.
Well, it's a great get-out clause as well, isn't it? Because if the story isn't true, it's because he's not telling it right.
Right.
So that gives us a sort of history get-out clause. I like that point. Yeah. Other thoughts, Tamara?
I just like that it's, you know, not a chorus. In a sense, it's like,
yeah,
I mean, I enjoy choruses as much as the next person, but it's always, you know, the narrator thing, and in it gives it that get out clause, like you said, but it's also just a nice little scene with actual characters rather than this almost Greek tragedy, Greek theatre device of the chorus.
How was the dialogue for you, Pamela, considering you are completely sight unseen?
It actually flows really well, and having lived in Scotland, it looks exactly like how a lot of my friends write, so I think it's fairly accurate.
Yeah.
It's also
Helen, then Liz.
One thing that is interesting is there was none of it in Slipper. It's just Bohan.
Yeah.
Slipper, it's straight English.
Yeah, I not to give away too much, but I don't think there's anyone else like Bohan in the play in terms of text in that sense. But I may be wrong. I could be wrong in that front. Liz.
I was just going to say, it's also a very, very funny opening to the play, which is, yeah, it's great for a history play. I mean, it's very, very amusing.
Yeah.
And actually, that reminds me of something else. The fact he's the only one with the Scottish accent, that could almost be, reminds me of a comedy thing where the accent is put on. Could even be put on to be as thick as possible.
But it's also possibly there's only one person in the country in the company who can do the accent, or they know the clown can do it if it is the clown's part. You know that it's been written for a specific skill set.
One thought from me is really until the last speech from Bohan, it's spectacle. It's getting the audience settled and amused. And then that last speech from Bohan is effectively giving you what you need to know about the backstory.
Oh yeah, you know there is still plot being introduced, and there is narrative throughout this, even if it's personal narrative as well as then the wider meta narrative. And you know there's a little dig for whatever's happening at that particular time, much like our court of Scotland this day. So you know. It's that's an interesting dig.
I forget. Did you give a date for this?
About 1590 or thereabouts.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's Robert Greene, the Cuthbert, the conny catcher. Robert Greene, right?
Yeah.
Red hair, green cloak. That guy. Yeah. Okay.
Any additional thoughts before we move on? Because we do need to crack a reasonable pace, and this is only the induction. I said only. Okay, let's move into Act the First. So, this looks like a history play, doesn't it? Enter the King of England, the King of Scots, Queen Dorothea, the Countess of Arran, Ida, and lords, and with them Ateukin aloof.
Brother of England, since our neighbouring land and near alliance do invite our loves, the more I think upon our last accord, the more I grieve your sudden parting hence. First, laws of friendship did confirm our peace. Now, both the seal of faith and marriage bed, the name of father and style of friend, these force in me affection full confirmed, so that I grieve, and this my hearty grief the heavens record. The world may witness well to lose your presence, who are now to me a father, brother, and avowed friend.
Link all these lovely styles, good king, in one, and since thy grief exceeds in my depart, I leave my Dorothea to enjoy the whole compact of loves and plighted vows. Brother of Scotland, this is my joy, my life, her father's honour and her country's hope, a mother's comfort and her husband's bliss. I tell thee, king, in loving of my doll, thou bindest her father's heart and all his friends in bands of love that death cannot dissolve.
Nor can her father love her like to me, my life's light and the comfort of my soul. Fair Dorothea, thou wast England's pride. Welcome to Scotland, and in sign of love, lo, I invest thee with the Scottish crown. Nobles and ladies, stoop unto your queen, and trumpets sound that heralds may proclaim, fair Dorothea, peerless Queen of Scots.
Long
live and prosper, our fair Queen of Scots. And they install and crown her.
Thanks to the King of Kings for my dignity. Thanks to my father that provides so carefully. Thanks to my lord and husband for this honour. And thanks to all that love their king and me.
Long live Dorothea,
true queen.
Long shine the sun of Scotland in her pride, her father's comfort and fair Scotland's bride. But Dorothea, since I must depart, and leave thee from thy tender mother's charge, let me advise my lovely daughter first, what best befits her in a foreign land. Live, doll, for many eyes shall look on thee, with care of honour and the present state. For she that steps to height of majesty is even the mark whereat the enemy aims. Thy virtue shall be construed to vice, thine affable discourse to abject mind. If coy, distracting tongues will call thee proud, be therefore wary in this slippery state. Honour thy husband, love him as thy life, make choice of friends as eagles of their young, who soothe no vice, who flatter not for gain, but love such friends as do the truth maintain. Think on these lessons when thou art alone, and thou shalt live in health when I am gone.
I will engrave these precepts in my heart, and as the wind with calmness woos you hence, even so I wish the heavens in all mishaps may bless my father with continual grace.
Then, son, farewell. The favouring winds invite us to depart. Long circumstance in taking princely leaves is more officious than convenient. Brother of Scotland, love me in my child. You greet me well, if you so will her good.
Then, lovely doll, and all that favour me, attend to see our English friends at sea. Let all their charge depend upon my purse. They are our neighbours, by whose kind accord we dare attempt the proudest potentate. Only, fair Countess, and your daughter stay. With you I have some other thing to say.
Exeunt, or in all royalty, the King of England, Queen Dorothea, and lords.
So, let them triumph that have cause to joy. But, wretched king, thy nuptial knot is death. Thy bride, the breeder of thy country's ill, for thy false heart, dissenting from thy hand, misled by love, hath made another choice, even when thou vowedst thy soul to Dorothea, England's choicest pride. Then thy wandering eyes bewitched thy heart. Even in the chapel did thy fancy change, when perjured man, though the fair doll had thy hand, the Scottish Ida's beauty stale thy heart. Yet, fear and love have tied thy ready tongue from babbling forth the passions of thy mind, lest fearful silence have in subtle looks bewrayed the treason of my new vowed love. Be fair and lovely, doll. But here's the prize that lodgeth here and entered through mine eyes. Yet, howsoe'er I love, I must be wise. Now, lovely Countess, what reward or grace may I employ on you for this your zeal, and humble honours done us in our court, in entertainment of this the English king?
It was of duty, Prince, that I have done, and what in favour may content me most is that it please your grace to give me leave for to return unto my country home.
But lovely Ida, is your mind the same?
I count of court, my lord, as wise men do. 'Tis fit for those that know what longs thereto. Each person to his place, the wise to art, the cobbler to his clout, the swain to cart.
But Ida, you are fair, and beauty shines. It seemeth best where pomp her pride refines.
If beauty, as I know there's none in me, were sworn my love, and I his life should be, the farther from the court I were removed, the more I think of heaven I were beloved.
And why?
Because the court is counted Venus's net, where gifts and vows for scales are often set. None, be she chaste as Vesta, but shall meet a curious tongue to charm her ears with sweet.
Why, Ida, then I see you set at naught the force of love.
In sooth, this is my thought, most gracious king, that they that little prove are mickle blessed from bitter sweets of love. And weel I wot, I heard a shepherd sing that like a bee, love hath a little sting. He lurks in flowers, he perches on the trees, he on king's pillows bends his pretty knees. The boy is blind, but when he will not spy, he hath a leaden foot and wings to fly. Beshrew me yet for all these strange effects, if I would like the lad that so infects.
Rare wit, fair face, what heart could more desire? But Doll is fair, and doth concern thee near. Let Doll be fair, she is won, but I must woo and win fair Ida. There's some choice in two. But Ida, thou art coy.
And why, dread king?
In that you will dispraise so sweet a thing as love, had I my wish.
What then?
Then would I place his arrow here, in his beauty and that face.
And were Apollo moved and ruled by me, his wisdom should be yours, and mine his tree.
But here returns our train.
And re-enter Queen Dorothea and lords, perhaps just in time.
Welcome, fair doll. How fares our father? Is he shipped and gone?
My royal father is both shipped and gone. God and fair winds direct him to his home.
Amen, say I. But thou wert with him too. Then might I have a fitter time to rule. But, Countess, you would be gone, therefore farewell. Yet Ida, if thou wilt, stay thou behind to accompany my queen. But if thou like the pleasures of the court, or if she liked me, though she left the court, what should I say? I know not what to say. You may depart. And you, my courteous queen, leave me a space. I have weighty cause to think upon. Ida, it nips me near. It came from thence. I feel it burning here. Now am I free from sight of common eye, where to myself I may disclose the grief that hath too great a part in mine effects.
And now is my time by wiles and words to rise, greater than those that think themselves more wise.
And first, fond king, thy honour doth engrave upon thy brows the drift of thy disgrace. Thy new vowed love in sight of God and men links thee to Dorothea during life. For who may more fair and virtuous than thy wife, deceitful murderer of a quiet mind, fond love, vile lust, that thus misleads us men to vow our faiths and fall to sin again. The king stooped not to every common thought. Ida is fair and wise, fit for a king. And for fair Ida will I hazard life, venture my kingdom, country, and my crown. Such fire hath love to burn a kingdom down. Say dull dislikes that I estrange my love. Am I obedient to a woman's look? Nay. Say her father's frown when he shall hear that I do hold fair Ida's love so dear. Let father fret, frown and fret and die. Nor earth nor heaven shall part my love and I. Yea, they shall part us, but we first must meet and woo and win. And yet the world not see it. Hey, there's the wound, and wounded with that thought, so let me die, for all my drift is not.
Most gracious and imperial majesty. A little flattery more were but too much.
Villain, what art thou that dost darest interrupt the prince's secrets?
Dread king, thy vassal is a man of art, who knows by constellation of the stars, by oppositions and by dire aspects, the things are past and those that are to come.
But where's thy warrant to approach my presence?
My zeal and ruth to see your grace's wrong make me lament I did detract so long.
If thou knowest thoughts, tell me what I mean now.
I'll calculate the cause of those your highness smiles and tell your thoughts.
But lest thou spend thy time in idleness and miss the matter that my mind aims at, tell me, what star was opposite when that was thought?
And he strikes him on the ear.
'Tis inconvenient, mighty potentate, whose looks resemble Jove in majesty, to scorn the sooth of science with contempt. I see in those imperial looks of yours the whole discourse of love. Saturn combust with direful looks at your nativity beheld fair Venus in her silver orb. I know by certain axioms I have read your grace's griefs, and further can express her name that holds you thus in fancy's bands.
Thou talkest wonders.
Naught but truth, O king. 'Tis Ida is the mistress of your heart, whose youth must take impression of these effects. For tender twigs will bow, and milder minds will yield to fancy, be they followed well.
What god art thou, composed in human shape, or bold Trophonius to decide our doubts? How knowest thou this?
Even as I know the means to work your grace's freedom and your love. Had I the mind, as many courtiers have, to creep into your bosom for your coin, and beg rewards for your every cap and knee, there I would then say, if that your grace would give this lease, this manor, or this patent sealed, For this or that I would effect your love. Ateukin is no parasite, O prince. I know your grace knows scholars are but poor, and therefore as I blush to beg a fee, your mightiness is so magnificent, you cannot choose but cast some gift apart, to ease my bashful need that cannot beg. As for your love, oh, might I be employed. How faithfully would Ateukin compass it. But princes rather trust a smoothing tongue than men of art that can accept the time.
Ateukin, if so thy name, for so thou sayest, thine art appears in entrance of my love. And since I deem thy wisdom matched with truth, I will exalt thee, and thyself alone shall be the agent to dissolve my grief. Truth is, I love, and Ida is my love. But my new marriage lips me near, Ateukin, for Dorothea may not brook the abuse.
These lets are but as motes against the sun, yet not so great, like dust before the wind, yet not so light. Pacify your grace. You have the sword and scepter in your hand. You are the king. The state depends on you. Your will is law. Say that the case were mine. Were she my sister, whom your highness loves, she should consent, for that our lives, our goods, depend on you. And if your queen repine, although my nature cannot brook of blood, and scholars grieve to hear of murderous deeds, but if the lamb should let the lions weigh, by my advice, the lamb should lose her life. Thus am I bold to speak unto your grace, who am too base to kiss your royal feet. For I am poor, nor have I land nor rent, nor countenance here in court. But for my love, your grace shall find none such within the realm.
Wilt thou affect my love? Shall she be mine?
I'll gather moly, crocus, and the herbs that heal the wounds of body and the mind. I'll set out charms and spells. Naught else shall be left to tame the wanton if she shall rebel. Give me but tokens of your highness' trust.
Thou shalt have gold, honor, and wealth enough. Win my love, and I will make thee great.
These words do make me rich, most noble prince. I am more proud of them than any wealth. Did not your grace suppose I flatter you? Believe me, I would boldly publish this. Was never eye that saw a sweeter face, nor ever ear that heard a deeper wit. Oh God, how I am ravished in your worth.
Ateukin, follow me. Love must have ease.
I'll kiss your highness' feet. March when you please.
And they exit. What a fab scene.
Wow,
Apologies for missing a stage direction when the king was left all alone. Everybody sort of exited so that the King of Scots could do... Oh, his speeches are doing everything. You've got speeches which are dancing between talking to individuals, talking to the audience, talking to a different individual. There's so many dynamics in play. He's got some wonderful individual speeches of I may have to do some evil now, but he's got it's this love, politics and love, and it's all thrown together in fabulous ways.
Wow.
And I said earlier there's no one quite like Bohan, but there are sort of variations on little bits of Scots in some of the other characters. So there's just the odd word here or just spelling that seems slightly different, to just give hints and directions without going into full dialect, as it were. It's really nicely thought out. Thoughts on the room?
We've certainly sorted out Ateukin's nationality.
Yeah. He's got to be, doesn't he?
He's got to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a sort of, he's almost the real, well, he's not, that there isn't a real world counterpoint, but he felt so like Bohan at that point, actually.
Yeah.
They're kindred spirits. Or possibly the same actor. Who knows? I don't think he can be. Other thoughts?
Well, it's certainly fast moving.
Mm.
No sooner had he beheld Ida, and that was it.
Mm.
Dorothy is out the window, basically.
Yeah.
Perhaps murdered.
Well, yeah, they move to a murder plot very quickly, don't they?
Right.
How is it to be the King of Scots? As opposed to the King of England, actually, because the King of England seems very straightforward and respectable. Written by a play in England. Strange that.
Of course, we're fundamentally decent, sir. How
Absolutely.
dare you suggest the opposite?
Whereas the King of Scots really isn't. How was it for you, Dan?
I quite enjoy playing a two-faced character there. I don't want to judge him and call him a villain, but certainly I like the plotting. Yeah.
Yes, I may be pushing villainy too far. You know, maybe he'll redeem. You know, who knows?
It certainly was well accepted that kings are not as other men, so they have queens for state, and they have loves, favourites. I mean, this was well enough accepted. I mean, what is niggling me, of course, is that it isn't Dorothy, it's Margaret. But that's irrelevant, of course.
Yes, are you trying to introduce history to this? Does Bohan got the name wrong? It's fine.
You're bringing in the facts, madam.
Yeah. Well,
You're using facts.
The thing is, it would Margareta and Meg and Fidel, and I mean, there's no reason why they've got it wrong, is there?
Maybe there's a
maybe
really
there
good
will
reason.
be. Maybe there will be. Maybe they don't want it too close to fact.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that long ago in purely historical. In terms of events, it's not that far in the past.
It's James's grandfather, isn't it? He was James the Sixth, first of England, sixth of Scotland, and this is James the Fourth.
Yeah,
So
it's not that far away.
No.
I mean, James hasn't come over yet, but it's not that far away.
Yeah.
I don't actually know how well performed this is from 1603 onwards.
No.
It's an interesting question.
Probably not.
Do we have any idea how well performed it is before 1603?
I think, does it get mentioned in Henslow's diary? I haven't checked that actually.
I'll check that. Yeah.
I would not be surprised if it does reasonably well. Greene is not an unsuccessful playwright, so it's probably about. That's probably for another day. But yeah, it's really meaty stuff. The characters, there's some great speeches. As an actor, I'm going, Ateukin, loving that. I'm loving the King of Scots.
Right.
Even the more straight-laced King of England, there's some good stuff in there.
I'm kind of fascinated by the fact that they call Dorothea Doll.
These nicknames.
In that way.
Dot.
Okay, well, I'm going to move us rapidly on into scene 2, where we get an introduction of people from the induction meet someone from the main play. So let's see what goes on here. Enter Slipper and Nano and Andrew with their bills ready written in their hands.
Stand back, sir. Mine shall stand highest.
Come under my arm, sir, or get a footstool, or else by the light of the moon I must come to it.
Agree, my masters, every man to his height, though I stand lowest, I hope to get the better master.
Ere I will stoop to a thistle. I will change turns as good luck comes on the right hand as the left. Here's for me.
And me.
And mine.
And they set up their bills.
But tell me, fellows, till better occasion come, do you seek masters?
We do.
But what can you do worthy preferment?
Marry, I can smell a knave from a rat.
And I can lick a dish before a cat.
And I can find 2 fools unsought. How like you that? But in earnest, now tell me, of what trades are you two?
How mean you that, sir? Of what trade? Marry, I'll tell you, I have many trades. The honest trade, when I needs must. The filching trade, when time serves. The cousining trade, as I find occasion. And I have more qualities. I cannot abide a full cup unkissed, a fat capon uncarved, a full purse unpicked. nor a fool to prove a justice as you do.
Why, sot, why call'st thou me fool?
For examining wiser than thyself.
So doth many more than I in Scotland.
Yeah, those are such as have more authority than wit, and more wealth than honesty.
This is my little brother, with the great wit. Wear him. But what canst thou do? Tell me, thou art so inquisitive of us.
Anything that concerns a gentleman to do, that can I do.
So, you are of the gentle trade.
True.
Then, gentle sir, leave us to ourselves, for here comes one, as if he would lack a servant ere he went.
And Andrew stands aside. Enter Ateukin.
Why so, Ateukin? This becomes the best. Wealth, honour, ease, and angels in thy chest. Now may I say, as many often sing, no fishing to the sea, nor service to a king. And to this high promotion doth belong means to be talked of in the thickest throng. And first, to fit the humours of my lord, sweet lays and lines of love I must record. And such sweet lines and love lays I'll indite as men may wish for, and my liege delight. And next, a train of gallants at my heels, that men may say, the world doth run on wheels. For men of art that rise by indirection to honour and favour of their king must use all means to save what they've got, and win their favours whom they never knew. If any frown to see my fortune such, a man must bear a little, not too much, but in good time. These bills portend, I think, that some good fellows do for service seek. If any gentleman, spiritual or temporal, will entertain out of his service a young stripling of the age of 30 years that can sleep with the soundest, eat with the hungriest, work with the sickest, lie with the loudest, face with the proudest, etc., that can wait in a gentleman's chamber when his master is a mile off, keep his stable when 'tis empty, and his purse when 'tis full, and hath many qualities worse than all these, let him write his name and go his way, and attendance shall be given. By my faith, a good servant, which is he.
Truly, sir, that am I.
And why dost thou write such a bill? Are all these qualities in thee?
Oh, Lord, aye, sir, and a great many more, some better, some worse, some richer, some poorer. Why, sir, do you look so? Do they not please you?
Truly no, for they are not, and so art thou. If thou hast no better qualities, stand by.
Oh, sir, I tell the worst first, but an you lack a man, I'm for you. I'll tell you the best qualities I have.
Be brief then.
If you need me in your chamber, I can keep the door at a whistle. In your kitchen, turn the spit and lick the pan and make the fire burn. But if in the stable...
Yea, there would I use thee.
Why, there you kill me. There am I. And turn me to a horse and a wench, I have no peer.
Art thou so good in keeping a horse? I pray thee, tell me, how many good qualities hath a horse?
Why so, sir? A horse hath two properties of a man, that is a proud heart and a hardy stomach. 4 properties of a lion, a broad breast, a stiff docket, hold your nose, master, a wild countenance, and 4 good legs. 9 properties of a fox, 9 of a hare, 9 of an ass, and 10 of a woman.
A woman? Why, what properties of a woman hath a horse?
Oh, master, know you not that? Draw your tables and write what wise I speak. First, a merry countenance. Second, a soft pace. Third, a broad forehead. Fourth, broad buttocks. Fifth, hard of ward. Sixth, easy to leap upon. Seventh, good at a long journey. Eighth, moving under a man. Ninth, always busy with the mouth. 10th, ever chewing on the bridle.
Thou art a man for me. What's thy name?
An ancient name, sir, belonging to the chamber and the nightgown. Guess you that?
What's that? Slipper?
By my faith, well guessed, and 'tis so indeed. You'll be my master.
I mean so.
Read this first.
Pleaseth it any gentleman to entertain a servant of more wit than stature. Let them subscribe, and attendance shall be given. What of this?
He's my brother, sir, and we two were born together, must serve together, and will die together, though we be both hanged.
And what's thy name?
Nano.
The etymology of which is a dwarf. Art not thou the old Stoic son that dwells in his tomb?
We are.
Thou art welcome to me. Wilt thou give thyself wholly to be at my disposition?
In all humility, I submit myself.
Then will I deck thee princely, instruct thee courtly, and present thee to the queen as my gift. Art thou content?
Yes, and thank your honour too.
Then welcome, brother, and follow now.
Oh, sorry.
May it please your honor to abase your eyes so low as to look either on my bill or myself.
What are you?
By birth a gentleman, in profession a scholar, and one that knew your honor in Edinburgh before your worthiness called you to this reputation. By me, Andrew Snood.
Andrew, I remember thee. Follow me, and we will confer further. For my weighty affairs of the king command me to be brief at this time. Come on, Nano, Slipper, follow.
And they exit.
Wow.
It's a fascinating thing. I'm wondering about the precise nature of Slipper and Nano. If they're part of a narrative narrating something from the future, then how do they know? I'm not going to think about that too hard unless I've just got that wrong. Anyway, yes, Slipper's speech is. We've had that repeated number 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
Well, before or later, rather, in other plays. Anyone want to leap in on that one particular?
Ladies?
I'm not getting involved.
No comment.
Girls?
I think if you tried to stage this these days, you would have serious issues, not only with those of low dwarfish stature, but I think the monstrous regiment would probably be after you in a trice.
Well, there are lots of questions to ask about that. Helen, you wanted to leap in there.
Well, it's just that Slipper is not being set up as a role model.
True.
Yeah. So if Slipper says things that are unacceptable, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
And they're saying them to Ateukin, who is also not exactly a role model, per se, or at least what he's willing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it's interesting that the hiring system, not unlike the method of begging on the bridge in Florence. You put your bill up on the wall.
Ah. Well, the only other hiring fair I've come across in dramatic literature is in Mort, so I'll move on from that. Which is a terrible adaptation of the book. Other thoughts about what's going on here? Is it because Ateukin's now got some money in his pocket that he wants to raise his status a bit by having some
partly
servants?
that, but he's got to work for the king, and one of the ways he's doing it is by putting his own servant into the Queen's household.
Ah.
I mean, that's the first thing you do if you're, I would have thought.
Any other thoughts about this little? I mean, Andrew, who gets sort of sidelined. They sort of talk him out of being put in, for service first, and Andrew Snood. I'm wondering what's going on with that name. Not suggesting he's a dynamic soul.
Yeah.
I have a feeling he's going to come back later on with some things to do. So not quite sure why he's called Snood, because the character is not reading to me that way, at least when I looked at it.
Possibly just a one-line cheap gag.
Yeah.
Other thoughts before we move on?
Well, just wanted to put it out there, because I don't think we mentioned it, that actually Nano is the Italian for dwarf, even now.
Mm.
So it's in the name as well.
Yeah.
You can't really get out around that.
No, we can't. It's a question as
Okay.
as what one does with that in a modern production, which to some degree is not really ours necessarily to answer, but certainly to raise the question.
Well, was there a thing about dwarves being employed at courts to be funny?
Yes.
Historically. So
Since the Romans.
Mm.
yeah, so potentially it's I mean, that's up for discussion, but I wonder, depending on how this pans out and how you stage it, if it's not a matter of discussing that that's just the reality of history.
Well, I think there is one thing in its favour. It's not like something like Volpone that, you know, this dwarf is not a grotesque. Really, you know, he may be a comic character, but so far he seems like a human being. He hasn't said very much, to be fair. And so that we've still got a long way to go before we can really, you know, formulate any thoughts, or for that matter, offer the opportunity for responses from the internet, which never goes wrong. Okay, we'll move forward with Act 1, Scene 3, and we're going to meet another new character. We're going to enter Sir Bartram with Eustace and others booted.
But tell me, lovely Eustace, as thou lovest me, among the many pleasures we have passed, which is the rifest in thy memory to draw thee over to thine ancient friend?
What makes Sir Bartram thus inquisitive? Tell me, good night, am I welcome or no?
By sweet Saint Andrew, and may sail, I swear, as welcome is my honest Dick to me as morning sun, or as the watery moon in murkest night, when we the borders track. I tell thee, Dick, thy sight hath cleared my thoughts of many baneful troubles that there wound. Welcome to Sir Bartram as his life. Tell me, bonny Dick, hast thou got a wife?
A wife? God shield Sir Bartram, that were ill. To leave my wife and wander thus astray, but time and good advice, ere many years, may chance to make my fancy bend that way. What news in Scotland? Therefore came I hither, to see your country and to chat together.
Why, then, our country's blithe, our king is well, our queen so-so, the nobles well and worse, and well are they that are about the king, but better are the country gentlemen. And I may tell thee, Eustace, in our lives we old men ne'er saw so wondrous change, but leave this truttle and tell me what news in lovely England with our honest friends.
The king, the court, and all our noble friends are well, and God in mercy keep them so. The northern lords and ladies hereabouts that know I came to see your queen and court, commend them to my honest friend Sir Bartram, and many others that I have not seen. Among the rest, the Countess Eleanor from Carlisle, where we merry oft have been, greets well my lord, and hath directed me by message this fair lady's face to see.
And shows a portrait.
I tell thee, Eustace, less mine old days. This is our Scottish moon and evening's pride. This is the blemish of your English bride, who sail by her, are sure of wind at will. Her face is dangerous, her sight is ill, and yet in sooth, sweet Dick, it may be said, the king hath folly, there's virtue in the maid.
But knows my friend this portrait? Be advised.
Is it not Ida, the Countess of Arran's daughters?
So was I told by Eleanor of Carlisle. But tell me, lovely Bartram, is the maid evil inclined, misled, or concubine unto the king, or any other lord?
Should I be brief and true, then thus, my Dick. All England's ground yield not a blither lass. No Europe can surpass her for her gifts of virtue, honour, beauty, and the rest. But our fond king, not knowing sin in lust, makes love by endless means and precious gifts. And men that see it dare not say it, my friend, but we may wish that it were otherwise. But I rid thee to view the picture still, for by the person's side there hangs some hill.
Oh, good Sir Bartram, you suspect I love. Then were I mad, her whom I never saw. But howsoever, I fear not enticings. Desire will give no place unto a king. I'll see her whom the world admires so much, that I may say with them, there lives none such.
Begad, and shall both see and talk with her, and when thou'st done, whether her beauty be, I'll warrant thee her virtues may compare with the proudest she that waits upon your queen.
Enter a servant.
My lady entreats your worship into supper.
Guide, Body Dick, my wife will tell thee more. Was never no man in her book before. Begad, she's blithe, fair, lovely. Bonny. Lovely.
Lovely.
Lovely. Okay. There you go. Lovely, bonny, etc.
And it does say etc. It's like as you exit, throw in as many things as you like. So on that exit, we have the re-entrance of Bohan and Oberon. To them, a round of fairies or some pretty dance. So pretty dancing happening. And then dialogue occurs.
Begad, Gramercy's little king for this. This sport is better in my exile life than ever the deceitful world could yield.
I tell thee, Bohan, Oberon is king of quiet, pleasure, profit, and content, of wealth, of honour, and of all the world, tied to no place. Yet all are tied to one. Live thou this life, exiled from world and men, and I will show thee wonders ere we part.
Then mark my story, and the strange doubts that follow flatterers' lust and lawless will. And then say I have reason to forsake the world, and all that are within the same. Go, shroud us in our harbour, where we'll see the pride of folly as it ought to be.
And here the script is slightly confusing because it almost seems like we've got more than one entrance and exit of visual things going on here, or we have variations on a theme where precisely what's going on is slightly confusing. So in theory, there's some sort of an exit, there's some sort of visual thing going on. Precisely how and when some of the actions and speeches here happen, I'm not sure. Let's keep going through it. So, in theory, everybody's exited, but in theory, then everybody, Oberon is left behind as Bohan exits, perhaps.
Here see I good fond actions in thy jig, and means to paint the world's inconstant ways. But turn thine eye, see what I can command.
And enter two battles, strongly fighting, the one led by Semiramis, the others by Strabrobantes. She flies and her crown is taken, and she hurt.
What guards this din of mark and baleful harm, where every vein is all betaint with blood?
This shows thee, Bohan, what is worldly pomp. Semiramis, the proud Assyrian queen, when Ninus died, did levy in her wars 3 millions of footmen to the fight, 500,000 horse of armoured cars, 100,000 more. Yet in her pride was hurt and conquered by Strabrobantes. Then what is pomp?
I see thou art thine ain, thou bonny king, if princes fall from high. My fall is past until I fall to die. Now, mark my talk and prosecute my jig.
How should these crafts withdraw thee from the world? But look, my Bohan, pomp allureth.
And here enter Cyrus, kings humbling themselves, himself crowned by olive pat, at last dying laid in a marble tomb with this inscription.
Whoso though be that passeth by, for I know one shall pass. Know I am Cyrus of Persia, and I pray, leave me not thus like a clod of clay, wherewith my body is covered.
And in theory again, everybody exits. Then once again enter the king in great pomp, who reads it and issueth, crying, Vir meum.
What meaneth this?
Cyrus of Persia, mighty in life, within a marble grave was laid to rot, whom Alexander once beheld entombed, and weeping did confess, nothing in life could scape from wretchedness. Why then boast men?
What reck I then of life? Who made the grave my home, the earth my wife? But mark me more.
Double Bohan.
Yeah, no, the but mark me more is Oberon's line. I apologise, that's an error.
Sorry.
Oberon, if you could...
okay, what Rikai then? Is that?
Yeah,
That's not...
if Bohan goes from Rot
okay.
Rico then.
Okay. What reek I then of life? Who make the grave my home, the earth my wife?
But mark me more.
I can no more. My patience will not warp to see these flatterers, how they scorn and carp.
Turn but thy head.
Enter 4 kings carrying crowns, ladies presenting odours to potentate enthroned, who is suddenly is slain by his servants and thrust out. And so they eat and exit.
Psyche is the world. But whilk is he I saw?
Sesostris, who was conqueror of the world, slain at the last and stamped on by his slaves.
How blessed are poor men then, that know their graves. Oh, now, mark the sequel of my That's not me again, is it?
No, it is. Continue.
Oh, is it? Okay. Now mark the sequel of my jig. And he weel meets ends. The mark and sable night doth leave the peering morn to pry abroad. Thou nil me stay. Hail, then, thou pride of kings. I ken the world, and what will worldly things? Mark thou my jig in Marcus turns that tells the loathe of sins and where corruption dwells. Hail me nae more with shows of goodly sights. My grave is mine, that rids me from despites. Accept my jig, good king, and let me rest. The grave with good men is a gay-built nest.
The rising sun doth call me hence away. Thanks for thy jig, I may no longer stay. But if my train did wake thee from thy rest, so shall they sing thy lullaby to rest.
So I wanted to just let that all flow over you, because I'm genuinely not, well, I sort of know generally what's going on here is this sort of presentation of things that Oberon is showing. We've had dumb shows and this kind of thing in other plays earlier. What precisely is going on? You get the impression there should be more dancing, there should be more spectacle. There's stuff in between. In the other edition that I have of this, there are numbers breaking this up into 3 units of action, but that doesn't seem to make any sense, so I let you just run through it. I at this stage I'm quite relaxed about not quite knowing what's going on. Thoughts from the room if anyone has a more firm idea what Bohan and Oberon are doing here, if not the specific actions of any individual moments.
I'm having flashbacks of Tamburlaine.
Yes. Only a couple of years ago.
It's only a couple of years ago, but
still in the
parade
repertoire.
of people who are, yeah, exactly.
It's probably yesterday, actually. If it's in the same repertoire as this, if it is Henslow, then it could have been yesterday we saw all this. Helen,
well, they've got the costumes then.
Yeah. But what is Oberon or Bohan? What are they trying to tell each other, or what are they showing? What not the specifics, but just broadly, what is this scene trying to do? Do we think?
Pride comes before a fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. No matter who you are, if you're a king, it doesn't mean anything. You can have your people turn against you very quickly.
And is this the lesson to do with what's going on with the King of Scots and in the main narrative? Is this the sort of crossover? It's an interesting thing. On firmer ground, while people have a little think about that, the scene that preceded it, which I ran straight into this, it seems to be sort of effectively two courtiers, one from the Scottish and the English side, sort of spies, sort of quietly sussing out how much information the other one wants to give across. It's quite a neat, tricksy little scene. I quite liked that. It was nicely detailed. And I like the way that Pamela was trying to figure out which accent she should be going for. And then went, oh no, I'm the English one. Right.
The thing that totally confused me until I worked out that Eustace's first name is Richard.
Yes, I know. I was like, sweet, what?
I mean, it's got to be. There is no other explanation for it.
On that note, I'm still wondering when. So since when is Dick a joke?
Oh, we've had this conversation before, haven't we?
Time immoral, I suspect.
I'm not sure. No, I've had this conversation with somebody else in a different forum about Dick as Dick, and they thought it was much later than this.
Okay.
So, I've never come across it as a joke.
Yeah, I don't. That's a modern thing.
Yeah, because we think it's hilarious, but for them it was just short for Richard, wasn't it? So
yes, welcome is my honest Dick to me.
That's the line.
Can we get that on a t-shirt?
I'm going to say no to that one because it's a misreading. It's interesting because this very old edition that I'm looking at here of this is actually complaining, effectively being quite snobbish about Sir Bartram use of occasional bits of dialect or Scottish words, just going, the author thinking it necessary to interlard the dialogue with Scottish forms of words. And I'm sort of going, no, he's just quite good.
Which edition is that?
This is, the joyous title of Minor Elizabethan Drama.
Who's the editor on that one?
Yeah, it's helpful. It's really helpful. It's the old Everyman's edition.
Okay.
When people could be delightfully snobbish about plays by different people.
But a regional accent was a class thing in the time when Everyman editions were being written.
Oh yes. It's but
so.
It's a historical thing for the historical thing. It's a fun thing. Any final thoughts? Anyone had any additional thoughts about that particular chorus and the stuff with fairies and some pretty dance? Some pretty dance. I love the way it phrases things like there's some pretty dance here. There's a dance here figured out for the occasion. It's whatever you like.
I think it makes sense with the dumb shows if what you suggested was that this was being played in rep with something like Tamburlaine, so that the costumes and props would have been on hand. Otherwise, it's one hell of an expense for a very short chunk of the play.
Yeah. But yes, Cyrus of Persia, they've almost certainly got some Persians lying around. Depending whether they got up from yesterday. Any other thoughts?
Well, actually, the state of the verse, the blank verse, is pretty good. And there's all those rhyming couplets that are in there, just thrown in there every now and then. And then I don't know why that I don't see any order to it yet, but it's just that the level of writing is actually really quite good. I mean, it's a bit confusing. We're jumping around genre-wise as to what it means exactly, what it actually is, because it doesn't seem to be just one thing. It seems to be a bunch of things. It's kind of like an early revenge tragedy, if you will. In one sense, that's what I'm getting from Ateukin's character. He's one of the early kind of nasties.
Mm.
You know?
And we are at a time when the question of genre is still really not quite. We don't have quite all the genres, or people are being much more experimental.
Exactly.
No, I think it's true. I think that the quality of the writing is very, very, very strong here, and it feels like the text is consistently, an author has written this down with a purpose. Whereas, say, contrast with yesterday's, the verse did not feel very regular. It did not feel as composed. It felt like something that has been adapted and played around with after the fact, whereas this feels very much off the page in many ways. Anyway, we better crack on because we've got a longish scene. I'd like to try and get to the end before we hit extra time. So we enter Act 2, The Perilous Realm. And we are at the entrance of the Countess of Arran, who's only said a little bit so far, and Ida discovered they're sitting at their work and there's a servant attending, though I don't know if the servant actually says anything. And there is a song, perhaps the servant singing the song. Isn't that lovely? Song happens.
Fair Ida, might you choose the greatest good, miss all the world in blessing that abound, wherein my daughter should your liking be?
Not in delights or pomp or majesty.
And why?
Since these are means to draw the mind from perfect good and make true judgment blind.
Might you have wealth and fortune's richest store?
Yet might I choose, be honest poor. For she that sits at fortune's feet alow is sure she shall not taste a further woe. But those that prank on top of fortune's ball still fear a change, and fearing catch a fall.
Tut, fair maid, each one contemneth need.
Good reason why, they know not good indeed.
Many merry then, on whom distress does lower.
Yes, they that virtue deem an honest dower. Madam, by right this world I may compare unto my work, wherein with heedful care the heavenly workman plants with curious hand, as I with needle draw, each thing on land, even as he list. Some men like to the rose are fashioned fresh, some in their stalks do close, and born do sudden die. Some are but weeds, and yet from them a secret good proceeds. I with my needle, if I please, may blot the fairest rose within my cambric plot. God with a beck can change each worldly thing, the poor to earth, the beggar to the king. What then hath man wherein he well may boast, since by a beck he lives, allure is lost?
Peace, Ida, here are strangers near at hand.
And enter Eustace with letters.
Madam, Godspeed.
I thank you, gentle squire.
The country Countess of Northumberland doth greet you well, and hath requested me to bring these letters to your ladyship.
And passes the letters over.
I thank her honour and yourself, my friend. I see she means you good, brave gentleman. Daughter, the Lady Eleanor salutes yourself as well as me. Then for her sake 'twere good you entertained the courtier well.
As much salute as may become my sex, and he in virtue can vouchsafe to think, I yield him for the courteous countess's sake. Good sir, sit down. My mother here and I count time misspent an endless vanity.
Beyond report, the wit, the fair, the shape. What work you here, fair mistress? May I see it?
Good sir, look on. How like you this compact?
Methinks in this I see true love in act. The woodbines with their leaves do sweetly spread. The roses blushing prank them in their red. No flower but boasts the beauties of the spring. This bird hath life indeed, if it could sing. What means, fair mistress, had you in this work?
My needle, sir.
In needles, then, there lurks some hidden grace I deem beyond my reach.
Not grace in them, good sir, but those that teach.
Say that your needle now were Cupid's sting, But her eye must be no less, in which is heaven and heavenliness, in which the food of God is shut, whose powers the purest minds do glut.
What if it were?
Then see a wondrous thing. I fear me you would paint in Tereus' heart affection in his power and chiefest part.
Good Lord, sir, no. For hearts but pricked soft are wounded sore, for so I hear it oft.
What recks the wound? But where but your happy eye may make him live, whom Jove hath judged to die.
Should life and death within this needle lurk, I'll prick no hearts, I'll prick upon my work.
And enter Ateukin and Slipper at this point in this particular edition.
Peace, Ida, I perceive the fox at hand.
The fox? Why, fetch your hounds and chase him hence.
Oh, sir, these great men bark at small offence. Come, will it please you enter, gentle sir?
And they offer to go out.
Stay, courteous ladies. Favour me so much as to discourse a word or two apart.
Good sir, my daughter learns this rule of me, to shun resort and strangers' company. For some are shifting mates that carry letters, some, such as you, too good because are better.
Now, I pray you, sir, what akin are you to a pickerel?
Why, knave?
By my troth, sir, because I never knew a proper situation fellow of your pitch fitter to swallow a gudgeon.
What meanest thou by this?
Shifting fellow, sir. These be thy words, shifting fellow. This gentleman, woman, I fear me, knew your bringing up.
How so?
Why, sir, your father was a miller that could shift for a peck of grain, that could shift for a peck of grist in a bushel, and you a fair-spoken gentleman that can get more land by a lie than an honest man by his ready money.
Caitiff, what sayest thou?
I say, sir, that if she called you shifting knave, you shall not put her to the proof.
And why?
Because, sir, living by your wit as you do, shifting is your letters patent. It were a hard matter for me to get my dinner that day, wherein my master had not sold a dozen of devices, a case of cogs, a suit of shifts in the morning. I speak this in your commendation, sir, and I pray you so take it.
If I live, knave, I will be revenged. What gentleman would entertain a rascal thus to derogate him from his honour?
My lord, why are you thus impatient?
Not angry, Ida, but I teach this knave how to behave himself among his betters. Behold, fair countess, to assure your stay, I here present the signet of the king, who now by me, fair Ida, doth salute you. And since in secret I have certain things in his behalf, good madam, to impart, I crave your daughter to discourse apart.
She shall in humble duty be addressed to do his highness will in what she may.
Now, gentle sir, what would his grace with me?
Fair, comely nymph, the beauty of your face, sufficient to bewitch the heavenly powers, hath wrought so much in him that now of late he finds himself made captive unto love. And though his power and majesty require a straight command before an humble suit, yet he his mightiness doth so abase as to entreat your favour, honest maid.
Is he not married, sir, unto our queen?
He is.
And are not they by God accursed that sever them whom he hath knit in one?
They be. What then? We seek not to displace the princess from her seat, but since by love the king has made your own, he is resolved in private to accept your dalliance in spite of war, watch, or worldly eye.
How he talks, as if he should not die, as if that God in justice once could wink upon that fault I am ashamed to think.
Tut, mistress, man at first was born to err. Women are all not formed to be saints, 'Tis impious for to kill our native king, whom by a little favour we may save.
Better than live unchaste to lie in grave.
He shall erect your state and wed you well.
But can his warrant keep my soul from hell?
He will enforce if you resist his suit.
What though? The world may shame to him account, to be a king of men and worldly pelf, yet hath no power to rule and guide himself.
I know you, gentle lady, and the care both of your honour and his grace's health makes me confused in this dangerous state.
So counsel him, but soothe thou not his sin. 'Tis vain allurement that doth make him love. I shame to hear, be you ashamed to move.
I see my daughter grows impatient. I fear me he pretends some bad intent.
Will you despise the king and scorn him so?
In all allegiance I will serve his grace, but not in lust. Oh, how I blush to name it.
An endless work is this. How should I frame it?
And they discourse privately.
O mistress, may I turn a word upon you?
Friend, what wilt thou?
Oh, what a happy gentlewoman be you truly. The world reports this of you, mistress, that a man can no sooner come to your house, but the butler comes with a blackjack and says, "Welcome, friend, here's a cup of the best for you." Verily, mistress, you are said to have the best ale in all Scotland.
Sirrah, go fetch him a drink.
And the servant indeed goes to bring a drink.
How likest thou this?
Like it, mistress? Why, this is Quincy, Query, Pepper to watch it, Single Gobby, all of that I ever tasted. I'll prove in this ale and toast the compass of the whole world. First, this is the earth, it lies in the middle, a fair brown toast, a goodly country for a hungry teeth to dwell upon. Next, this is the sea, a fair pool for a dry tongue to fish in. Now come I, and seeing the world is naught, I divide it thus, and because the sea cannot stand without the earth, as Aristotle saith, I put them both into their first chaos, which is my belly. And so, mistress, you may see your ale is become a miracle.
A merry mate, madam, I promise you.
Why sigh you, sirrah?
Truly, madam, to think upon the world, which since I denounced it keeps such a rumbling in my stomach, that unless your cook give it a counter-buff with some of your roasted capons of beef, I fear me I shall become a loose body. So dainty, I think, I shall neither hold fast before nor behind.
Go take him in, and feast this merry swain. Sirrah, my cook is your physician. He hath a purge for to digest the world.
Exit slipper and servant.
Will you not, Ida, grant his highness this?
As I have said, in duty I am his. For other lawless lusts that ill beseem him, I cannot like, and good I will not deem him.
Ida, come in. And sir, if you so please, come take a homely widow's entertain.
If he have no great haste, he may come nigh. If haste, though he be gone, I will not cry.
And exit Countess of Arran, Ida, and Eustace.
I see this labour lost, my hope in vain. Yet will I try another drift again.
And the end of the scene. So many things going on. It does feel much more like a sort of weird romantic comedy where the with all of the action of who's in love with who and who's trying to woo who and get to woo who. And Slippers just, I'm sorry, this Quincy Quarry, Pepper to watch it, Single Gobby of all that ever I tasted. Now, there's an appreciation of wine.
You think it's wine?
No, I don't, but it's like, I was thinking of wine tasting, you know, that's, it's got a...
Chili Golden.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
No, he says it's ale, doesn't he?
I'm getting a pepper to watch it.
Yeah, I've got no footnote on what on earth that might be, but I don't know if it needs to mean anything. It feels like it's sort of just nonsense, but maybe it's not.
I really like Slipper's way of getting what he wants.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
also, he distracts the Countess.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, they're a good team. They're a good team.
Yeah. But there's all the business of the embroidery. The symbolism of the embroidery and
Filth.
Yeah, okay. Filth.
An endless work is this. How should I frame it? Which is a very nicely put together line. Yeah, and Eustace, you know, he's got his own little love story as well going on. That seems really interesting. And considering that he was sort of introduced as this sort of random person to sort of random courtier earlier, is sort of given a little more and building on that. And so, you know, even what at first glance looked to be peripheral characters are given a lot more scope and interplay that I really like. Other thoughts?
Ateukin's maybe getting some backstory.
Yeah, right. I felt a totally different Ateukin in this scene than every other scene that we've had before.
Different audience, though, isn't it? In that sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's, Slipper's the one who's really pulled. I mean, the things he's saying to Ateukin, it's just like he deserves that beating. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but what is actually going on with that
exactly
that back and forth? Is it planned?
Right?
Is it for a purpose?
I kind of thought that was what was happening.
Yeah.
That there was a purpose to it of like, okay, this is going to give me the opportunity to talk to her alone. And yeah, but
they won't give you the time of day when you first come in. They say go away. Pretty much. We shun the resort and strangers' company, and so it's like you have this argument as a get-in because it looks interesting. I think, but maybe that's thinking too far.
It could well be, because it's after this. It is really weird, though.
There's so many threads. So many threads.
You know, we're only into the opening of Act 2, so it's fine for us to still be introducing different threads, and it's an engaging scene in its own right. You know, Ateukin trying to get Ida to accept the king, and he's not even saying we'll get rid of the queen. You can marry. He's just saying you can be his mistress if you like.
Yeah.
How's that?
I mean, no subtlety whatsoever.
No.
A dalliance. That'll be fine.
He's resolved in private, to accept your dad. It's
accept.
Yeah.
It's like he thinks it's a fait accompli. It's just decided. And she's going, no, actually, no.
Yeah.
Noblesse
nothing
oblige.
if not constant. Yeah, exactly. Droit d'écoutage.
And it is interesting how dominant Slipper is in every scene that Slipper's in. I mean,
right.
And that we've got the two brothers, but Nano is really not getting any stage time in real terms.
So far.
We've got these two brothers of the narrating figure, who are sort of there, but they're not really necessarily pushing forward the action. It's interesting. It's interesting. Other thoughts about the what we've read so far? I mean, we've reached our text limit for the day. So overall thoughts of the play so far.
No, it's you certainly want to read on, and it's it's great. I'm looking forward to the next bout between Ateukin and Ida.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, is Slipper? I mean, Tarleton dies at the end of the 1580s, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So this could be Kemp's debut kind of clown, because it's tending towards that kind of clown.
Yeah, it's the wordplay and the numbering and the lists that feels that's possible. Though, you know, other unknown clowns are available.
True. But this is the first time I've read anything by any plays of Robert Greene. I've only read prose stuff of his before, and always enjoyed that. Now, he was always big on his own work, and he's actually proving to be pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, I'm a great fan of Greene, and you know, hopefully we're going to work through. A lot of his plays are very easy for us to do in the future. Sure. It's they're actually very accessible to me, and some of them are very short as well. They really do vary in length from something we can do in 2 sessions with lots of time to spare to much longer ones.
It's all very well saying it's good. It's very curate's egg. It's got some interesting bits of poetry. It's got some interesting images. It's got some interesting bits of comedy. But altogether, it's if I had to characterize it, I would say it was a dog's breakfast.
I don't feel that at all.
No, I would say that it's a very, very confident dog's breakfast. and that's what I mean, that's really what I'm saying. It's like the competence that's behind the piece. That's what's talking to me of like, yeah, this guy's got it together with his writing. I totally agree. It's all over the place with what it's representing so far.
I genuinely don't think I agree. If you just take the induction and the Oberon stuff aside, if you look at the central narrative of what's going on, we've got a king who wants to have an affair, and then you've got various people around him trying to organise it, and there's a potential murder plot. It's that all seems very, very consistent to me, and seems very clear to me. I think the question of what's happening with the interact material is much more visual, and the script isn't really telling us what's going on, and I think that's possibly throwing us, because we had that big read through of stuff that we didn't really get between stuff that we were getting. Well, that's my thoughts. Feel free to shoot me down.
I mean, to me, it feels quite modern in how it plays with genres, and how, rather than, you know, we've been talking about history plays and what makes a history play, and a lot of the time there's a chorus, and instead of the chorus you have actual characters who tell the story. So it's almost like he's gone, where am I losing my audiences? Let me make that more interesting.
Just briefly, I'm quite enjoying it, even more than Friar Bacon, I think, and more than Orlando Furioso. I feel like you just got the long speeches in Orlando Furioso, and you just kind of, I feel there's a lot more going on in here, and I really like how the characters are fairly sharply written, in my opinion, and they've got some pretty nice speeches. So I really like the idea. It's the first history play I've ever read that's a comedy, essentially. So I quite like the inverting of that there, using the tropes and comedy in this.
Yeah. Other thoughts? I mean, Ateukin, you know, we've got a journey so far. It's not a very, you know, we haven't got very far into his journey, but you know, he's sort of sauntered in, managed to get himself some money. He's building himself a household and intelligencers and associates. You've got a clear definition of who are comedy characters as opposed to who are the serious characters.
I'm kind of intrigued about Bohan, really, because Oberon is going to a lot of trouble. I mean, that previous scene where he's going through about 3 or 4 different battles. I'm just wondering whether something is going to happen with that character of Bohan.
Yes,
we know he was at court and he was disillusioned by it, but seems to be a lot of time being spent with him trying to show him these things. I don't know.
They are chunky bits of the narrative.
Yeah.
And I mean, putting on the producer's hat at this point of just going, right, what would I do with this play? And I think a certain thinning of some of that performative stuff between Act 1 and Act 2 feels like something, but maybe we should try it and workshop it and see what comes out of it before starting on that principle, because they are really fun, but again, we don't know where they're going with it, and that's what I'm not sure about.
There don't seem to be any parallels between them and the main action of the play.
Yet.
Or at least the parallels are not very explicit. I mean, you can sort of see some themic connection, but it's quite tenuous.
I'm wondering if it depends on how you stage it, really. So
yeah,
I feel like there's a lot to work with in this, that you have a lot of options essentially how you want to parallel, because I'm sure the parallels are going to come.
On a slightly different note, I'm enjoying Ida and the fact that she is allowed to say no, because in some of the other history plays, like Henry V, we had Kate, who was just, you know, Henry was like, you're going to love me, you're going to come to court, you're going to be my wife. And she was just kind of like, okay. Whereas in this, she's just absolutely, no, that's not happening. And that may change, obviously, but I'm enjoying that she has a voice on her part.
Yeah, the but you know, all three of the Queen and the Duchess, is Duchess, isn't it? Countess. Are all really nicely drawn. I mean, even though Dorothea is not on for very long, you know, she's got a reasonable, sort of entrance. It's all that. You've got a bit of pomp and pageantry at the beginning as well. That sort of, you've got magical pomp and then you've got regal pomp as well, and that parallels quite nicely. I like Ida. I think she's rather good. And you know, being able to go through a play and say, right, I like that speech is mine. And I think Dan's right about you know, it's not just long speeches, it is dialogue and speeches, and the speeches are doing dynamic things. I mean, that King of Scots speech where it's dancing line by line as to where his thoughts are going, who he's talking to. You know, that's a workshop in itself, just trying to figure out the beats in that.
I wondered about the edition specifically. I was trying to look it up on the break there, because I looked at Q1 of this, the 1598 one, and it is not at all in the asides. None of that is in there. The punctuation, it does not indicate at all where there's going to be breaks. So I was trying to work out, okay, who edited this? And whoever edited this seemed to really read this pretty carefully and read it out to know exactly when these beats are going to happen, unless there was another edition after this. I haven't looked up the print history on this play. So
I believe it did have various different quartos. So I think there are some textual variations that I've noticed today between the two versions that I've got here. So it seems that there are occasional word choices that are different as well. Very minor, but occasional.
And I think he who must not be named was paying attention to Ida's speech with the.
Yeah, we're not going there. And mute. So yeah, I think, because you know, we've only done effectively, if we ignore the Oberon Bohan material, the players, there's been 4 scenes I think that we've you know, with the internal plot, and it's everything's moved along. We can see where it's going, Though the nice thing is we don't know exactly where the end point is, because it's not like this is a famous historical event.
Exactly.
And the peril is set up.
Because, you know, I've no idea what's going to happen to Ida or Dorothea or any of these characters or any of the other minor characters. What's going to happen to Ateukin? You know, is he going to get away with it, or is he going to, you know, I want to know what happens to Slipper.
Yes, it's
for comedy, I have no idea where this is going. That's what I really like about it.
I mean, from an audience's perspective, that's a nice thing to be dangling, is that, you know, where is this going? And just talking about comedy characters, is that we've done a few plays now where we've got explicit double acts being created. You know, that there's seems to be in the company not just the clown, but also almost the feed straight man who is paired with the clown to make things move on. Because I don't know if Ateukin is explicitly a clown figure, or, you know, he's somewhere in between, whereas Slipper seems to be getting more one-liners. I don't know if that's fair.
My feeling was that Slipper is the comic, Ateukin is the feed, and Nano was a convenient one because they happen to have a small actor.
Yes, that's the worrying thing about Nano, is Nano seems to be a sight gag, which is quite problematic. Which is probably something we can address more later in the process.
And yet what we've got is in the induction, Nano is the one who is promised the wit by Oberon.
So maybe in the next couple of scenes we're going to see more of him.
Yeah. So we shall see. And we're now pretty much at the end of extra time. So any final thoughts from the room? Final thoughts, Helen?
No. I want to see what's going on.
Excellent. Liz?
No, I'm like, great. I'm looking forward to the rest. I've really enjoyed it.
Alan?
Ditto.
I think I'll just say, anybody else in the room got anything to say?
I'm not going to be here for the rest of the week, and I'm really sad because I want to know where all of these characters go. So you have to do a really good job for the next 2 days so I can watch it.
No problem.
Excellent.
No pressure.
Well, that's a really good
who's
endorsement.
Who's going to read Bohan?
I think it's Williams volunteered. Certainly for the next session. Right, well, in that case, unless anyone else has anything additional to say, I think there's the best endorsement for a play is when you get so far through it and we're going, I want to know what happens next, because that's usually a very, very good way of finding out. We're going to go into housekeeping now, but from all of us, it's goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.